You should say bye.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, good. Didn't even know it was not.
No.
Because I was. You wanna sit over there?
Yeah.
Judith. Where did you get to that? Did you see it?
Whatever you want, I'll go over there.
Yes. How are you? I'm good, thanks. And over here. Why don't you?
We're moving, we're moving.
You get something. You can get.
Hey, good morning. Okay, so I have papers for everyone here to put their names on name tags. I know.
You are a co-host, so you should be able to share.
That's Ron, yeah. That's Ron. He was, yeah. Okay, so we are gonna, everyone's gonna take one of these, we're gonna fold them over and you're gonna please put your names on them so that everyone can see us today. Yeah. What of action? Let's take one of these down, please.
That's good.
We're gonna use this as a name tag.
Oh.
Yeah.
Put it on both of them.
And I'm gonna bring you Sharpie, so I can have you read it.
Okay. Awesome.
There you go. And I have Sharpies coming, so you can put your name with markers so we can all see it. Just put your name.
Put it on both
You're
sides.
You're gonna fold it over like this. This is our arts and crafts activity for today. Arts and crafts. Okay, and you're gonna write your name with the marker so we can all see it, so we can all talk to each other and know. There's markers coming down. Yep, exactly.
That's another.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Of course. Sharpies.
Yeah.
Me a Sharpie.
Smoker, here's the right.
Oh, you do? Yeah, we always do it. Where do you take them?
Well, they're right now. Now they're ready to get tour.
I went there.
How many are? Yeah. Okay, great. Wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna get started. We have our friends online. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Hello.
Oh, maybe they need it down. Does anyone need it down?
Okay. So for those of you who are joining us online, welcome. And we're gonna start with our online friends and have you introduce yourself. When you introduce yourself, because I don't think we had you last week, so I want you to be able to share, when you hear the word Hineni, here I am, what do you hear? What do you think of? So just share that with us when you introduce yourselves. So let's see, I think we have Steve. Go ahead and unmute yourself and then share with us. Okay, Steve will join us in a second. Judy. Hold on, Judy, go ahead and unmute yourself. Judy, we don't, Judy, you're still muted. This is for your names. Pre-folded. Okay. Are you not able to unmute? Philip, are you able to unmute? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I can, yeah. Oh, what I think of is when I have a music degree, I have two of them actually. When I graduated from the bachelor's degree, there was a song that they sang at the commencement, and it had Hineni in it, and I didn't at the time didn't know what that was, but now I do. But I was 21 years old. What did I know? But anyway, so But yeah, so that was the first time I heard it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Judy, go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, it must have been the early 1970s when I went to a lecture with friends, and the lecturer was Rebbitzin Esther Jungreis. I don't know if any of you know who she was, but she was an ultra-Orthodox Jew whose purpose was to ignite the spark in everyone to become Orthodox Jews. And her organization was called Hineni. And I was very well aware of her and of the words Hineni.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, Irving, welcome. You're asking everyone to introduce themselves and also share, when you hear the word Hineni, what do you hear? What comes to mind? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, well, we'll wait. Okay. Okay, great. So I think everybody else here in the room, welcome. Didn't have a chance to introduce themselves this week. So perfect timing. You can introduce yourself and share with us when you hear the word Hineni, what comes to mind.
I'm Shelley Auslander, and when I hear the word Hineni, it means I'm here. I'm really here. It's hard to believe.
Okay, we're grateful that you are here.
Yes.
So just, Shelley, go ahead and put your name on that paper. And let's make sure, especially if you're on this side, that you sort of, you turn your names a little bit so that the people over here can hear too, can see you. Okay, wonderful. Welcome back. Okay, so I think everybody had a chance to introduce themselves. Oh, wait, no, Ron did not introduce himself. Ron, please go ahead, introduce yourself. And when you hear the word Hineni, but let's all focus on Ron. Ron's introducing himself.
I'm Ron Osceola.
Not the other one, I think.
No, you.
He tapped me on the shoulder, so I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rabbi, you might want to open that.
Oh, it's not personal.
When I hear the word, I don't think I'll do it. It's trying to hold me at all, because I've never
An
heard.
example of what the kids.
Okay, Ron, please. Okay, are we all here? Hineni. Let's say Hineni. Let's say it one more time. Okay, we are here. We made it. We're leaving the rest of everything behind and we're gonna be present and focused. Hineni, because here we are. Okay.
We're gonna talk to the whole room.
We're talking to the whole room and Ron is introducing himself. Go ahead, well, let's do it one more time, please.
I'm Ron Osceola, and the word means nothing to me because I've never heard it before.
Beautiful.
Means nothing to me.
He hadn't heard it before, so he is here, Hineni, here I am. Hineni means here I am. And we are going to dive into Hineni today. To the first place that the words are offered in the Torah. That's where we are today. We're going to read this word for the first time in this section today. I just wanted to share, Judith brought with her, as you remember last week, she shared that as a teacher, she would always have her students draw their self-portrait and they would say, Hineni, here I am, and she would call them. So she shared the picture of one of her students' self-portrait,
Pretty talented kid.
which is really impressive and wonderful. And it's here, so after class, hold on, let's see if you can all see it at home. And I gotta get all the way over there. And so you will, it'll be here after class. I love that. That's beautiful. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's dive in today. Okay, we will have a chance. I had asked you guys to think about Ayeka, where are you? And we are gonna have a chance to talk about that a little bit later on, so I did not forget your homework. Don't worry. Okay. So before we open up the book of Torah and to the section of Torah that we will read, I want to share this reading with you. I have made the text larger for the Torah text on the subsequent slides, but this one I'm gonna actually just read to us right now. Sorry, there's so much on this screen, it's hard to see here. Okay. Hineni is a response of sacred and undulated presence, a response in which the self sheds all reservations, which expands the boundaries of self, indicating a readiness to receive and respond to whatever experience is about to unfold. It is brave and humble. It is the kind of response we offer only a few times in our lives, when we promise ourselves to the one we love, not knowing what the future might bring, when we gaze into a newborn's eyes and promise we will never let them down, when we promise ourselves as we enter a new era of our lives to be all that we can be. When we promise ourselves as we enter a new era of our lives to be all that we can be, it is no doubt, Hineni, it is no doubt the kind of response God was hoping for. The story of the Jewish people could now continue. This is by my colleague, Rabbi Nina Beth Pardon, who is a community rabbi in Baltimore. And this is her frame for understanding the term Hineni. I am exactly going to do that. So for her, Hineni is a response. It is presence. It expands the boundaries of self. It indicates readiness. It is brave and humble. It's a response that we only offer a few times in our lives. It's a promise to ourselves. It is no doubt the kind of response God was hoping for. It's a response that now continues the story of the Jewish people. I'm going to allow these words to sort of sit with us. We're not going to respond to them just yet. I want them to sit with us as we now experience the word Hineni in the text of Torah, the first time that it appears in Torah. And what I'm going to ask of you today, this is the challenge for today. We always have our challenge when we study our Torah, is I want you to allow this to be the lens. If you think about your glasses or your contacts or whatever, allow these words, this idea, this sentiment to be the lens that you wear as you read the text. Because Hineni, the first time that we see it, is in Genesis, in the chapters of Genesis 22, where we read about the Akedah, the sacrifice of Isaac that has come to be known. But what I want us to focus on today, because we could spend an entire 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, the next sessions of the year, focused on the challenge of the Akedah. And absolutely we can do that, but not today. Today, I want us to challenge ourselves to focus on Hineni. How is it said? Why is it said? When is it said? Who is saying it? And allow this notion of response, readiness, promise, continuation to be the frame that we are placing ourselves within and the lens by which we read the text. Okay? Thumbs up, good? We're gonna do it? Online, thumbs up, you're with us, Hineni, okay, great. Let's move forward. Genesis 22. This is, it opens, verse 1. Remember, when you hear something, you experience something, write it down, take a mental note, okay? Genesis 22, verse 1. Sometime afterward, God put Abraham to the test, saying to him, Abraham. He answered, what did he answer?
Hineni.
Here I am. Take your son, your favored one, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the heights that I will point out to you. Reflections. What do you hear? What do you see? What stands out for you?
The favorite one.
Okay, the favored one. Susan?
Well, Abraham obviously understands who God is. And when God is calling him, he is there, ready to answer, ready to be part of whatever God wants him to do. However, in the next sentence, when God tells him to take his favorite son and use him as a burnt offering, I don't know, it probably has a little heart palpitations hearing those words.
Okay, so what Susan is bringing to us is there are two responses here. There's the response, Hineni, but for Susan, there's an unspoken response. A feeling, right? A heart palpitation. So there's a physical response as well as the verbal response. An emotional, physical response and the verbal. Beautiful. Okay, Bobby?
I think it's interesting because God assumes that Abraham will take the test, will do the test, because he doesn't say Ayeka. He knows that he's there, and he knows that he will respond to the test.
Beautiful. So Bobby's bringing us back to the last time that we studied together when God calls out. God calls out in the form of a question, right? God doesn't call out Adam, right? God says, Ayeka. Here, God calls out Abraham by name. Abraham. What is that? How does that resonate with people? What does that sound like to you?
Like a relationship.
Oh, there's a relationship. Okay, interesting, beautiful. Who else? Anyone else have any comments? Margaret, then Rashina and Susan.
Well, Abraham, of course, is gonna say, here I am. But that's before he hears what's gonna happen to him. It's gotta be terrible.
Okay, for Margaret. Margaret says, of course Abraham's gonna answer. For Margaret, it's an of course, he's gonna answer. Okay. Rashina?
I was just gonna say that in, the second part, there are imperative verbs, so, just in terms of the relationship, there isn't a lot of wiggle room to say I didn't understand what you wanted. It's very specific and very imperative. Take, go.
Yeah, right. There's no room for misunderstanding here. It's clear. It's specific. Abraham doesn't have to come back to say, wait a minute, what did you want me to do? Okay, Susan, then Linda.
I just focused on burnt offering,
Mm-hmm.
and that is so visceral. And when you read that second part of that, I couldn't get past that to be referring to Isaac as a burnt offering is horrifying. And so that was what I couldn't get past.
Okay, so for Susan, there's a visceral reaction and there's a stop, right? Okay. Linda.
I guess my question is, to me, it gives Abraham an opportunity to say why, but were you not supposed to question God?
Okay, so for Linda, well, we haven't gotten to verse 3 yet, so we'll see what verse 3 is. But for Linda, there should be I will point out to you, period, and the response from Abraham should be, why? Okay, for Linda, it's very clear, why? All right, Judith, and then Anita.
Instead of why, it's odd that, I mean, Abraham and God already have a relationship to one another. So he listens to this, and why does he not say, are you kidding me? Not just why, or what, or where, or give me the details, but it's so visceral, and just the think of burning his child, you know, he needs to forcefully question God, in my opinion.
Okay, so we don't know what his response is yet, right? And remember, we are wearing our lenses of Hineni. We're trying to understand this relationship. As Bobby pointed out to us, that first line says, there's a relationship here, because it's pretty informal. Abraham, Hineni, or Abraham, Hineni. Which one is it? We don't know. Okay, Anita.
The thing that's always bothered me about this is, where is Sarah?
She's home.
She's gone.
Okay, where is it? But you know what? It's a question. It's a question. Where is Sarah? Okay, all right. It's a question. We leave the question. It's out there. Let's go and see next here what I put in here what Rashi is saying. So Rashi focuses on, in the Hebrew, Abraham, and for some reason, I don't know why it cut out on here, but it says his name twice. Abraham. So Genesis 22, okay, Abraham, the repetition of this name is an expression of affection. Just like Bobby said, there's some relationship here. There's a relationship that we've experienced. Okay, Abraham would listen immediately. Okay. Okay, let's see what happens next. Verse 3. Please join us, please. And you're gonna come over here quickly. I'm gonna give this to you. You're gonna put your name on it.
Thank you.
Share us your name what's your name?
Jesse.
Jesse. Okay, Jesse, wonderful. Verse 3. So early next morning, Abraham saddled his ass, his donkey, took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He split the wood for the burnt offering, and he set out for the place of which God had told him. I'm gonna pause there. Right? So 2, he's given the instruction. Verse 3, you could argue, is the response. What's the response?
I'm gonna do whatever you say.
Onward, right? Doing it. What does he do? The text is so intentional here. So early next morning, Abraham got up early. He is ready to go. He didn't wait. He didn't think about it. He didn't go over to Sarah from the text and say, you're never gonna believe what I just heard from God. Right? Okay. Abraham gets up early the next morning. In fact, this is where our tradition teaches us that the notion of shacharit, the morning service, comes from this line, that we should get up early in the morning, and the first thing we do is we offer prayers. We daven, we worship. Okay? Then he gets busy. And then what does he do? He's not going alone. Okay? He takes 2 of his servants with him and his son. He splits the wood for the offering, and he sets out for the place that God had told him. Verse 4, on the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place from afar. Reactions. What do you see? What do you hear? How does it fit within the context of Hineni? What do you see?
Does he take the servants as witnesses or helpers?
Okay, so we have a question. What is the role of these extras? Okay, good. What's their role, Susan?
However, we don't know because reading ahead, Abraham leaves them and just takes his son. So, but
So right in this moment, what are we focused on?
on this moment, we see that Abraham has been listening to God all this time, and he walked 3 days without hearing God. However, God did on the third day, after he had said, you know, you're gonna go, this is what I want. Now he's saying, okay, you're here, right there. In front of you.
Okay, good. So verse 3, he's busy putting it all together. And then on the third day, Abraham looks up and sees the place. What else? What else does anyone see? Yeah, please, Robin.
So he's walking along, moving along for like 3 days, but is there no self-reflection? Like, do I really want to do this? Why am I doing it? Like, I don't see any of that.
You don't see it, right? Okay, we don't see what's happening. 3 days have passed. 3 days have passed, and what is really incredible here, because think about it, Abraham's not walking by himself for 3 days. Abraham's walking with his 2 servants, and his son Isaac. And we could assume also, God is here. There's silence. There's no recorded conversation or interaction between setting out and verse 4. Okay, Shelley, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we don't know at this point what Abraham is really thinking, though.
We
And
don't.
I think that's an important point. He could be thinking that because of the relationship with God, this really, you know, I'm gonna follow what God is saying, but he has a different plan. That's how, I guess I prefer to look at it, at least at the moment.
No, but you know what? First of all, one of the things I want us to think about, especially when we're thinking about Hineni and our response, because remember, we're focused on response here today. For Shelley, we don't know what's going on in Abraham's mind. We have no idea. I am sure that all of us in our lives have taken time to mull something over. Have you?
Absolutely.
Have there been times when you've lived in the same house with someone and you might not talk it all through all the time because you're thinking about it? But considering your response, how am I gonna handle this predicament I find myself in? Okay, all right, Anita, then Margaret, and then.
Because every word counts. I'm focused on looked up. Because somehow that implies that Abraham was not looking up, that he was looking down. And perhaps he was sad or despondent.
So Anita, you and I are connected. I find this line in Torah to be so incredibly profound and meaningful. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw. For me, I imagine Abraham walking for 3 days with his head down, watching every step he takes. He's watching every step. He's walking. He's so focused. And in whatever thoughts, like Shelley's saying, whatever he is thinking about, it is all consuming for him. That's where he is. That is his Hineni for me. He is here, and wherever that is, it doesn't matter that he's moving forward or walking, his here-ness, whatever here is where he is. He is so eyes down focused. And on the third day, he looks up. On the third day, he comes into some sense of awareness, knowing. I don't know what, the text doesn't tell us, but there is something really moving, powerful about that notion, as Anita brings to us. His eyes are down. On the third day, he looks up. There's something physical about that. And he sees the place from afar. We don't know what's going on, what he's thinking about, what he's considering, whether he knows. I know that this task is a test I know that when I get there, things will be different. Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's really struggling. Maybe his anxiety and his heart palpitations have taken over. I don't know. We don't know. Just like we never know what someone else is going through. They may be here, Hineni. But if I called out to them, would Hineni be their response? Here I am. So we don't know. Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe physically we're here, that notion of being physically here, but emotionally, spiritually, we're somewhere else. Bobby,
Can I
please.
ask you, to me, it seems that that interpretation does not fit with Hineni. Because if you are questioning and if you are thinking, you're not fully present to what God is asking you to do. So, and when he looked up, he also could have seen something in a high place, because when you make an offering, it's usually in a high place.
Mhm.
So he was just walking along and then looked up and saw the high place. Because I always thought that Abraham was an example of blind faith, that whatever God tells him to do, he does without questioning. And so, a little bit betwixt and between that interpretation.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what Torah gives
But
us.
how does
Gives us the
Hineni,
space.
he's questioning, where does the Hineni enter into that?
So I think that's a really interesting question. Because what you're saying for Hineni is a response of I'm ready to go, no questions asked. Hineni can also be here I am. I am with you, I'm here for you, right? I'm in relationship with you. And then he hears what the task is. That doesn't mean that he's no longer in partnership or in relationship with God. It also doesn't mean that he can't think about it. You can't, it does, even if you want to use the term blind faith, you don't have, it doesn't negate the fact that he may take 3 days to be thinking about it. What does that mean for me? What does that mean in terms of my faith? It doesn't mean he has to question who he is in his relationship with God. Just like we do with our own relationships, right? Like Judaism teaches us that our relationship with God mirrors the relationship that we have with other people. This notion that we're in relationship and partnership. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that if you're in partnership with someone that you have to just totally acquiesce and say, oh, I'm in a relationship and in a partnership and a friendship and some sort of a engagement with you. And that means that whatever you say, let's do it.
And what about Isaac?
Right?
Well, that's what I thought was the traditional interpretation.
Well, I think there's so many interpretations and the commentators are gonna have, and that's what we're all doing here, is creating that sense of commentary. Margaret and then Judah.
So it's trust between Abraham and God, should be trusting. But what makes me think about it as you look ahead, and Susan, you look ahead too. He didn't just blindly trust as he matured, the relationship matures. He's Sodom and Gomorrah, and he's starting to argue now with God. So this is the beginning, and when you trust.
They've had a lot, actually Sodom and Gomorrah is before this. So they've had a lot of interesting conversations, before this moment, okay? No, but not forget it, but I think it's actually more powerful, I think it's very powerful. I don't think it's a forgetter. I think, if you think about the first time that God calls out to Abraham, it's Avram at the time. God calls out, and the first thing God says is, Lech lecha, go forth. Leave your father's house, leave your birthplace, everything that you've known, Lech lecha. Go forward on a journey. And Avram, there's no verbal response. It's an action response. Abraham goes. Here, God says, Abraham. And Abraham says, Hineni. Here I am. With Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham confronts God and says, you're going to destroy a whole people? What if I find one good one? God says, no, then okay, right? They go back and forth, they debate. So they have this intimacy, which I think is very strong here. And we see that, which we called out in the very beginning, there's this relationship, there's an intimacy between them. Okay? So Abraham here, Hineni, here's your task, he goes. There's 3 days that are not recorded. That's what I think is so interesting. 3 days of of recorded interaction, which leaves such beautiful room for so many gorgeous midrashim, right? Gorgeous. What's happening? There's a lot of people walking together. What is Abraham saying? Okay, so one more, go ahead, Susan.
I was just going to say, he's still Hineni, walking these 3 days. He doesn't know where he's going. He's just walking because he knows that God is leading him to where he's going to go. But he's still Hineni. He's still, I am here. I am doing what you want me to do in these 3 days.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. There's different interpretations. Some that he's a small boy, some that he's a 30-year-old guy, right? Like there's different interpretations. I like that there's a little bit of wiggle room here. Yeah. Okay, did we have someone over here? We have oh, sorry, Judith.
So that's all right.
I'm sorry.
He's there, but the task that was given to him was a whopper. I don't think he ever expected something like that, but the son as a burnt offering. So I think for me, during those 3 days, that's what he's thinking about. And he's going forward, he's walking forward, and he looked up because that was where he was to burn his son. So he was coming to face that and God.
Yeah.
And I think that was a pretty big question in his mind going that way.
Thank you. Okay, Judith, and then we're gonna, okay, then.
I think he does have a connection with God. He's trying to follow God's rules or his requests, but he has this son with him. And we don't know if it's a little kid or a man or whatever, but it's still his son. So now he has 3 days. We don't hear anything about any conversation at this point with Isaac. Is he preparing his son for what's going to happen? Is he trying to explain? Is he trying to allay his fear? And what is Isaac saying, schlepping along with his father? Well, where are we going? What's going on? So I think you can have all kinds of midrashim here, right?
And we're gonna
open.
That's what the beauty is, right? That's the beauty, please, and then we're gonna go to 5.
I understand Abraham's faith, unwavering faith in God. What I don't understand, and maybe I'm putting too human a face on it, is where is Abraham's fear of what God is telling him? I mean, all of us, think about it. You get this command from God to go, sacrifice your son as a burnt offering. Wouldn't you be terrified? I mean, where is Abraham's fear?
So what's interesting is, the idea of fear and awe or reverence, to revere God, to fear God, is the same word in Hebrew. It's an interesting play. I leave that out. Don't even need to discuss it. I'm gonna leave it out there lingering. Okay, reverence and fear, the same Hebrew word, Yireh Hashem. Okay. 5. Then Abraham said to his servants, "You stay here with the donkey, and the boy and I will go up there. We will worship, and we will return to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering, put it on his son Isaac. He himself took the firestone and the knife, and the two walked off together. 7. Then Isaac said to his father, Abraham. Sorry. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, he did kavod, he had respect for his parents. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, "Father." And he answered, what?
Hineni.
Here I am, my son. And he said, here are the firestone and the wood, but where is the sheep for the burnt offering? And Abraham said, it is God who will see to the sheep for this burnt offering, my son. And the two of them walked on together. So we have two instances of Hineni in this one section. Right? The first is God calls out Abraham and Abraham answers Hineni. Then the next time we hear it, Isaac calls out to his father Abraham, Father. And Abraham answers Hineni. Here I am, comma, my son.
I don't know if we would ever use that term, here I am. If you were, your child said, it called your name, you would just say yes, or what do you want, or something like that.
No, it's gathering stuff with the birds.
I would say, if I'm standing right next to him, I would say, here I am.
Say, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, so Bobby, so kids say, I am here. So there's this beautiful discussion in the I was reading not too long ago, the difference between here I am and I am here. Here I am here. Okay, there's a difference.
Yes.
Yes, okay. What's the difference for you?
Well, one is when you say here I am, it's like you don't see someone and you want to say, I'm here. The other one is, I'm here, so you can see the person.
Okay, so it's like a visual, okay. What else? What's the difference? Here I am here.
What's reversed? It's reversed.
Okay,
The words are reversed.
and Judah says, what's important?
Right, so I, in the first one, talking about me, I, and the other one starts with here, the place too, so.
It's psychological emphasis.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So Susan's adding to it also. It's psychological and then there's a physical. Okay, right? So that's so beautiful here too, if we think about it, because that's what we've been talking about with Abraham, right? This notion of a physical response, a verbal response, an emotional response. Here, Isaac calls out, Father, Dad, and Abraham responds, Hineni, here I am.
I'm with you, someone. has
Okay,
to-
I'm with you. Judy, please, yes, thank you.
I find the words here I am are very biblical. And I think that's why it sounds strange, because that's how they talked.
Okay, right, so it places us in context, okay, good. It's different, no, it's different, the Hebrew is different between here I am and I am here. What is interesting also is, if you think about Hineni, right? So this is the difference between like clergy's kids and non-clergy kids. So my son is 3. And he has this way of disappearing. And he's a magician of sorts, right? So one of the things we've taught him is, Asher, when we call out your name, say, Hineni, here I am, okay? So when you said, Susan, I just don't think you would say that. Asher would grow up saying, Hineni, here I am. We hope that's his response, right? Like, I'm always praying that I'm gonna hear the 3-year-old little voice, Hineni. But it's a here I am, okay, a physical, here I am. But also what I think Hineni calls us, especially when we're reading it here, we read it from God, when God calls, what is the sound that we hear Abraham say Hineni? When Isaac calls out and Abraham says Hineni, it is a notion also of intention, intentionality. What does it mean to say, here I am? What is the actual meaning of here I am? And is his intention, his meaning, his kavanah, his intentionality, is it the same? When he answers, Hineni from God. And when he answers Hineni to his son. Right, so the words are the same. Just wanna see someone has something to check. The words are the same.
They wouldn't be the same in modern use.
Say,
You would say I need help. Or I need.
yeah, I need po, right,
And you wouldn't
po,
say.
here, right. Well, I mean, you could, right, I mean, you could,
Yeah.
but yes, little kids are probably not saying it, right? Okay, all right, but yeah, I need po, all right, yeah, I'm here, but that's, I am here I am. But from here, in this context, it's not I am here. Right, like it doesn't say I am here. It's specific. It's a specific phrase that's being used. And it's not just between God and humans. Between man and man, we can also call out, and the response is Hineni.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I wanted us to take from this. That Hineni is not just a call and response between the divine and mankind or womankind. It's a response, it's a call and a response that's also between human beings.
I'm with you.
Yeah, Ron.
Y'all, most of y'all don't know me. I'm seeing this through a whole different lens. I'm in the midst of conversion here at Bethel. For 10 years, I was a United Methodist minister, and for me, this passage was one of the strongest passages I ever preached on. I did a week-long revival just for this passage. Because from a Christian perspective, when Abraham looked up, what did he see? He saw Golgotha, the place of the skull. And this whole Abraham bringing his son to be a burnt offering was in anticipation of Adonai doing the same thing later. Very, very powerful message.
And I also think there is a lot of power here too, in this notion of hearing Isaac's voice.
I wanna.
Okay, yeah,
Because on the page before, when he was telling the servants, this is what struck me. He called him my boy. He didn't say my son. And I thought that was very impersonal, like he was already separating himself from his son because he thought he was gonna get burned alive.
and also could have been the translation. But what I like about what you're saying, right, so you're creating
Right.
that attachment there and understanding like a distance too, right? But here I am, Beni, my son.
Right.
Here I am, my son. Yeah, Rashina.
If you go back to
Yeah.
5, or like the one before,
Yeah.
I actually felt differently. I felt sometimes we self-talk or like to really mean something. But he says, Abraham says, we will worship and we will return.
Yeah.
And
Good.
so, to me, what I love about not knowing what was said during those 3 days is it's like, is he saying it to create a confidence and like a reason why his son would follow him up there? Maybe, or is it belief? Is
Yeah.
it like, God will take care of us and it doesn't get answered for us,
Which is the beauty of it too, and I agree with you, I think there is. Between these 3 verses, between 5 through 7, we learn a lot. And we are starting to understand a little bit about Abraham too, right? Abraham has this plan. You stay here. We're coming back.
Right.
We're coming back. We're gonna go up and we're gonna worship. We will return together. Okay, and the 2 walked off together. The emotion of verse 7 streams from this, right? Like if you read it from here, the 2 of them walked off together. And then you can imagine Isaac, Daddy, Father, Hineni, here I am. Beni, my son. Right? And then Abraham says, you know, Isaac is like, where's the sacrifice? Right? Like, he has an understanding and awareness of what they are engaged in, what they're about to do. And then he asks the question, and Abraham says, just like Bobby brings up before, like this relationship, this strength, this faith, and then Margaret bringing in trust, it is God who will see to it. Right? Like, we're gonna go off together. Judy online, yeah.
You know, they had 3 days walking together with the servants. And don't you think maybe at one point that one of the servants would say, we better go get Sarah because her husband is just flipping out. Okay, something's not right here, okay? I know they're servants, so they have to do what they're told, but you know, give me a break, you know?
And Judy with the levity to bring us back in action. I like it. Okay, thank you. Okay. They arrived at the place of which God had told him. Abraham built an altar there. He laid out the wood. He bound his son Isaac. He laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to slay his son. Then a messenger of God called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. And he answered, Hineni, here I am. Do not raise your hand against the boy, or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your favored one, from me. This is what the third now instance of Hineni. Also, the third person, quote unquote, or the third voice that calls out to Abraham, and the response is Hineni. Right, so the first is God calls out to Abraham, the second is Isaac calls out Father, and then the third is this messenger, this angel of God, calls to Abraham from heaven, Abraham, Abraham, and he answers, Hineni. Now, what is different here? It's not the response.
It's the messenger, not God.
Okay, the messenger, but what else? The repetition of Abraham's name. In the first verse, God calls out Abraham, and Abraham responds, Hineni. Isaac calls Father, and Abraham responds, Hineni. But here, the messenger calls Abraham's name
Twice.
It's Abraham, Abraham, or Abraham, Abraham, or it could have been Abraham, Abraham. Right?
Yeah.
But there's different ways that we can hear it. We don't know the emphasis. We just know that there's repetition. Right? So then Rashi's gonna say, he's gonna come and he's gonna say, well, it's familiarity. He knows Abraham and he needs to get his, right? It's an affection. Abraham, Abraham.
But it was an echo.
Maybe it was, ooh, Susan writing a midrash. She's starting her midrash. It was an echo. Interesting. Okay, I like that. That's a good drash. I'm gonna sit on that for a few minutes in my mind. All right. Abraham, and he answers, Hineni, here I am. Don't do this. All right. And now we know, now I know. Now I know that you fear God.
But it's like the last second.
Right, yes, it is.
And the whole thing about him laying his son on the wood, I'm sorry to digress for a minute. Come on.
Susan, stay with me. Susan.
He's gonna do that. He was carrying the wood. He already had it strapped to himself as he schlepped the 3 days.
I was 30 years
Now
old.
that's fake. Something it was.
Okay, hold on, full group, full circle, hold on, let's hear from Naomi, we haven't heard from Naomi yet. Come back full circle.
I remember my feelings about this when I was a kid.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I remember this so vividly, I still can feel the same. I was like,
how could this kid trust his father ever again? Because he was gonna kill him. I mean.
Well, that's a whole other lesson learned, just on Isaac. Yeah.
It was the kid saying, you know, he's doing this to his child, and how can the child, I mean, this is just my reaction when I
No.
did this.
Well, I don't think it's just as a child's reaction. I mean, I think for all of us,
Bill,
right? If anyone reads this and they're like, great story, see you later, going to lunch. Okay, right,
Tell me.
this, hold on one second. This is one of those powerful pieces of text that should evoke lots of emotion, right? We should wrestle with it. What I think is so powerful also about the text, though, is not like if we allow ourselves to stand back, not just from the act of the Akedah, this notion of the sacrifice or the binding on Isaac, but that this word Hineni appears 3 times. Understanding what does it mean to be Hineni, here I am, in 3 very different ways. Hineni between God and Abraham in the beginning, calling out. An intimate moment between father and son, Hineni. And now, here, as he's about to engage in something, he has to be sort of like shaken. Abraham. Hineni, he says. Oh, Hineni, right, Hineni, here I am. What we're doing here today is understanding what this phrase, Hineni, can evoke, provoke, feel, and response. What is it as a response? And what I think is amazing is one word, the response, depending on where it is that we are, where we are emotionally, physically, spiritually, it can be a response that can be spoken at many different points in our life, along a different journey, milestones, moments of contemplation, difficulty, joy. The response, here I am, can be spoken and it wouldn't feel out of context. Right? One of the things I find so amazing when you're raising a child or you know, that's just like where my mind is in terms of like watching them discover new words. And you're just amazed when they use a big word in context, right? And it also, when it's not in context, just the absolute sweetness that word sounds, right? When it's just totally out of context, it makes you giggle to yourself. But then when they use it in context, you're just like mind blown. For me here, that's what Hineni can provoke, this notion of like, this word, here I am, this phrase, here is represented in one text of just 12 verses of Torah, is used 3 times in 3 different ways with 3 different partnerships. God and Abraham, Abraham and Isaac, Abraham and the messenger. Abraham is the constant. He's a part of all 3 scenarios. But it's the other that changes. For us in our lives, we are, because it's our life, we are that constant. And different things happen in our lives and different moments that we come into a sense of being. The word Hineni, the phrase Hineni, the sentiment, we can use it or be called to use it or respond Hineni. And each scenario can be so vastly different. We are there because we're experiencing it. But what does it mean to say Hineni? Please.
Well, I think in this context, I think Hashem was really testing Abraham, must be.
Right, that's what we learned right at the beginning. But why, yes, tell me.
Testing. See, he was really, the word here, which I don't really feel that comfortable with, is fear.
That's what I was.
You hear me enough, that you know, just listen to me, and offer your son as a sacrifice.
But the
I
Bible,
find
Hold on one
a
second.
lot of the time, I speak to people that aren't Jewish. Sometimes most of the people that are Jewish, I wanna feel them out a little bit. say, are you a God-fearing person? And it comes from this,
Mm,
are you God-fearing? What does that really mean?
mm.
That we live in fear of God? To me, that's uncomfortable. Because I don't want to feel that way about God, I don't want to feel that way about anybody.
Yeah,
Fear them.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
want to have a different relationship with God. Right?
good, wonderful, right? I think that's the beauty of this, that's the beauty of our tradition, right? And like I said before, fear and reverence are from the same Hebrew word, yirah, right? It's the same word. So what does it mean to be fearful, afraid, small, vulnerable? But could it also it could mean that it is this notion of it is bigger than I am, and that can sometimes be a little bit scary. Right? All of those things, I think what the beauty is that our tradition gives us the space and the room to actually wrestle with that. What does it mean when I am in fear? What does that mean?
Well, I would prefer the word trust.
Okay,
Trust me.
Yeah.
Come and do what I'm asking you to do.
yeah,
And then what's the whole purpose of your life?
yeah,
Really, it's a test of his trust in God.
and trust can also be a little bit scary. Right? To be trusting?
Yes.
Yeah, right, so it's all these words, they call for us to respond in different ways. And what I think the power of the section in terms of our context and the frame that we are looking at, and the lens that we're looking at it today, is when we hear that call and from whom it comes, and we find ourselves responding, Hineni. What does that feel like? What is that asking us to do? What is that trying to call from within us? So I wanted to just, I think here, we have one more minute. I want to just read this one section. In a world full of distractions, the proper way to translate Hineni today is, I am fully present. I am fully present in my life. I am fully present with my children. I am fully present in my job. I am fully present when I am in conversation with you. I am fully present as a servant of God. This means paying closer attention to the sacred duties I assume and trying to live on higher ground. I am fully present as a Jew. I am fully present as a citizen of the world, partnering in its perfection. Being fully present today with the challenges of technology cannot be assumed. It is hard work, an aspiration.
Who's Erica Brown?
So Erica Brown is a wonderful educator, and she writes really some beautiful texts and stuff. Yeah, lots of stuff. It's beautiful stuff. And what I love here, especially when we think about Hineni and this text of Abraham and the 3 different instances that we read today, is that Abraham saying Hineni, is his response, I am fully present. I am fully present here with you, God. I am fully present here with you, Isaac. I am fully present here in this moment, angel, messenger of God. And what does that mean to us? So for us this week, last week I asked you to think about Ayeka. And if someone says, where are you? How will you hear the words differently? Did anyone hear Ayeka? Did anyone ask you, where are you this week? No? Okay. That's all right.
You know, that's what's important, that you know Hebrew, and that's the problem that so many of us have, like, I was gonna discuss that what you said, the idea of fear. How is that actually translated? Is fear all that you spoke about it? We don't know that the translation is actually the Hebrew is, it's very difficult for us.
Yeah, but as I said, the word is the same, right? So we could read it as awe, we can read it as fear, and so that changes the meaning. So what I want, and the trick, well, so yeah, that's true. So what I want us to do, because we have just, we are over, so here's your assignment for next week, your spiritual assignment, okay? In a world full of distractions, Hineni, I am fully present. So I want us all this next week, between now and next session, I want you to try and carve out a Hineni moment for yourself. Don't think of it, you don't have to think of it as 30 minutes, doesn't need to be 60 minutes, I'm just saying a minute. Just try first a Hineni minute and find yourself fully present. Carve out some space, some time where you, if someone called out to you and you respond, Hineni, here I am fully present. And we're gonna start with that next week in our go around the room. I want to see, if you don't do it, it's okay. This is not homework, I'm not asking to collect it. But if you feel called to, try to experience a Hineni moment and share with us next week. Because remember, the call can come from many different places. You have the blessing of being able to respond and choosing to respond. Hineni, here I am.
Great.
Wonderful being with you all.
Thank you, Rabbi.
See you next week. I can collect those.